And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this very beautiful day here in Brisbane. 18 degrees and sunny, so it's looking amazing out there. Well, right now today we have lots to talk about, and of course it is an important day here in Queensland as the latest vaccine gets on the road.
Today, we mark the launch of the Queensland Moderna COVID-19 vaccination program. Queensland's first 400 pharmacies go live from today, not just in the southeast corner, but right across regional, rural and remote Queensland. So the Moderna 19 COVID vaccine is in the same family as the Pfizer vaccine. It's an mRNA technology, which means all Queenslanders from 12 years of age and over now have the option to get an mRNA vaccine from their local community pharmacy.
That wonderful news that now all Queenslanders can get that. So it is just so wonderful, and today marks the launch of that very, very important day. Well, right now let's go down to Victoria, where we don't have such good news there. The earthquake.
A magnitude 5.9 earthquake has rattled Melbourne and regional Victoria.
Oh my God.
The quake was centred in the town of Mansfield at 10 kilometres deep. It was also felt in New South Wales and the ACT. There's been damage in parts of Melbourne's inner city, and another two smaller tremors have also been recorded, a magnitude 4.1 and a magnitude 3.1. And this is the moment the initial tremor was felt in ABC's studio in Melbourne and the aftermath on the city streets.
Yeah, we've got an earthquake. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, I've never had an earthquake in here before.
It's going to collapse. Wow. Yeah, I know. Stay in the middle of the road, mate. Oh my God.
I felt the tremor. I thought something had hit the tram. There was nothing, no noise or anything. I stood up, felt the tremor again, realised it was probably an earthquake, but didn't think it was that serious until I arrived here, yeah.
We've had some damage, but the main thing is everybody's safe. There was only one person up there, they got out, so there was no injuries. Just a bit of a surprise. Earthquake in Windsor. Hard to believe.
Reporter Madeleine Morris is in Melbourne.
I'm down at Windsor on Chapel Street, which many viewers will be familiar with, a very popular food and shopping destination. And this is really the worst damage that we've been made aware of so far in Melbourne. So over my shoulder, you can see there some emergency crews have just moved in to try and fix the electricity. The Deputy Premier there was talking about the brief mass outages that we had across Melbourne. We have had reported that those have been mostly fixed, apart from some 200 or so customers who are still in this area. Now, just behind the truck, what you can actually see, or what we could see earlier, was a huge pile of bricks. You can see the damage up from the top of the building there. When the first earthquake hit, the big one at 9:15, all of those bricks from the top of the building all came tumbling down onto the ground. They knocked through the awning of the Betty's Burger shop below it as well, and they all landed on the footpath. It is an absolute miracle that no one was hurt. This is, even though we're still in lockdown, a really popular place to get coffee. It's incredible that no one was walking past, Ros.
Well, that's right, and people were evacuated or evacuated themselves from surrounding buildings.
Yeah, that's right. So people have evacuated themselves, I think, more, as you would say, from surrounding buildings. And we've heard of apartment blocks in the city as well. It's been reported in other media that kindergartens and childcare centres in this local government area of Port Phillip, they also enacted their emergency procedures and got the kids out of the buildings. So they have been taken out as well. But this is, as I say, the most visible damage that we've been able to see at this particular point in time.
Yeah. Madeleine, I understand you were in the ABC studios in Melbourne when this quake hit. Can you give us just a sense of how strong the shaking was?
Ros, you wouldn't believe it. I was in an audio booth and I felt nothing. It was just, I came out of the audio booth and everyone else around me was saying, what was that? What was that? And you saw earlier the vision of Michael and Tony in the studio recording something and the cameras just shaking. People reported huge tremors, and right across Melbourne we've had really very many reports of people being at home, feeling the walls move, seeing the windows move as well, people on chairs, feeling in their Zoom meetings, feeling their chairs going backwards and forwards. It is being reported by Geosciences Australia that as far as we know, this is the strongest, that first one, the 5.8 magnitude earthquake, is the strongest one in Victoria since European settlement. So very, very unusual. When I spoke to a local down here a little bit earlier, he heard a huge boom when those bricks came down, came out, saw huge plumes of dust in the sky, and he'd been feeling the earth move as well. This is a really major and extremely unusual event to happen here in Melbourne.
There you are, an extraordinary event to have happened there in Melbourne, and the strongest after the European settlement that has been recorded on history. Well, so that is nature. What nature has in store for us, who knows? But there are then disasters that are man-made.
Can you just keep the 50 coming up behind us?
There you are, it's all happening in Melbourne, be it natural disaster or man-made, it is all happening. Well, right now, let's leave Victoria there and wishing everyone all the best and hope that, people listening to us are safe. And we've made contact with many people in Melbourne just to check on people, see how things are with the people we know. Well, right now, let's go to ICT and get a report of 17 new cases.
Good morning, everyone. Not your average Wednesday. We have one earthquake and several aftershocks this morning. 17 new cases to report overnight, 9 of which are linked and the remaining still under investigation. Only one of the new cases was in quarantine during their entire infectious period, and at least 11 spent part of their infectious period in the community. There is still investigation underway of these cases, but the potential risk from the cases announced overnight, particularly the number that have been infectious in the community, is of concern. Hospital numbers have increased slightly to 12 currently hospitalised, and 2 are in intensive care, both requiring ventilation, and neither of the individuals in intensive care are fully vaccinated. Testing numbers are a little low at 1,988. So again, if you have any symptoms, please come forward for testing.
And then it's very important that, if there is even the slight of the symptoms, please do get tested. Well, we are on track, but how far away off the mark are we, or are we exactly on track?
Australia's vaccine rollout has hit its fastest pace yet, with the nation poised to have half the adult population fully vaccinated within days. The 7-day average for daily doses has jumped to nearly 279,000, roughly a week after the program was expanded to include children aged 12 to 15. Right now, more than 72% of the population aged 16 and older have had at least one dose. Over 47% are fully vaccinated. However, a breakdown by region shows a gaping divide between the southeastern states and the rest of the country. In Outback WA, home to a large Indigenous population, just over 20% of adults have had both shots, the lowest rate in Australia. It's 46 percentage points lower than Baulkham Hills and Hawkesbury in Sydney's northwest, which have the highest share of adults fully vaccinated at nearly 66%. Within New South Wales, double-dose vaccination rates are highest in Metro Sydney and lowest in the regional areas of Grafton and the Hunter Valley. In Victoria, the trend is reversed. The state's lowest double-dose vaccination rates at 36 to 38% are in Melbourne's west, northwest and southeast. The population here is younger, which means they haven't had as much time to get both shots. But surging vaccine uptake among Victoria's under 40s means the gap is closing quickly. More than 10% of Victorians aged 16 to 39 received a first dose in the past week. This is 2 to 3 times the uptake of young adults in almost every other state and the second highest of any age group in the nation, behind 16 to 39-year-olds in the ACT. At the other end of the age spectrum, in the nation's nursing homes, the deadline for aged care workers to get a mandatory first jab passed on September 17. Across the country, 98% of aged care workers have had at least one dose and 80% have had two. These figures are much lower in the disability sector, where vaccinations are strongly encouraged but not nationally mandatory. Among disability workers, less than 72% have had at least one shot and less than 56% are fully vaccinated.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to take a message from our sponsors of this segment. And remember that you too can be a sponsor of the program. And your ads can be playing in between this. But today, our sponsor is GlobeNet Realty.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
And real estate is their world. And don't forget that every Wednesday we have the real estate update with Usha Chandra. And today at 10 a.m. we will have the travel updates with Tanvi Goyal. So as I was saying before, you too can have your hosted program, a program that is hosted by you. And in that program we won't have anyone else's ads. But if you just wish to have your ads placed in our news segment, that opportunity is also available. So the shows we have are many. Once a month we have the Music Junction, which has got opportunities in it as well. Lots and lots of people view that. And don't forget that this Sunday at 6 p.m. We have Parminder coming up, amazing singer, and that will be so not to be missed from 6 p.m. So that's coming on as well. Well, right now it's time to go for our daily India report, and with that, let's welcome Ankita.
The growing engagement of the Indian diaspora with India. In our first story, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the USA is being hailed by the Indian diaspora to lend a new dimension to bilateral and multilateral relations. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set for a power-packed schedule as he left for the United States on 22nd September for his first major foreign visit during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Indian diaspora in the United States has expressed happiness over the Indian Prime Minister's visit. Modi will meet US Vice President Kamala Harris on September 23rd in Washington, a day ahead of maiden bilateral meet between him and US President Joe Biden. Then he will meet one-to-one with 5 chief executives of top American companies, in which Apple CEO Tim Cook is expected to take part. The same day, Modi will also have bilateral meetings with Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison and Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga. On September 24th, Modi will participate in the first in-person summit of the Quad in Washington that is expected to broadly focus on contemporary global and regional issues. The visit, which assumes significance as India and the US look at strengthening cooperation, especially in the strategic sector, will also see India calling for a rearrangement in the multilateral institutions, including the UN Security Council, of which India is a non-permanent member.
At their bilateral meeting on the 24th of September, the Prime Minister and President Biden will review the robust and multifaceted India-US bilateral relationship. They will also discuss how the comprehensive strategic global partnership between our two countries can be enriched further. The two leaders are expected to discuss how to bolster bilateral trade and investment ties, strengthen defense and security collaboration, boost the strategic clean energy partnership, explore new avenues in emerging technologies, including through R&D, innovation and industry linkages. The bilateral meetings would also feature current regional security situation following recent developments in Afghanistan, our stakes as a neighbor and a long-standing and preferred development partner of the people of Afghanistan. In this context, we would undoubtedly discuss the need to stem radicalism, extremism, cross-border terrorism, and the dismantling of global terrorist networks. They will also discuss the reform of the multilateral system, including the UN Security Council. The Indian diaspora in the United States, which consists of about 4.2 million people, is a very important factor in the relationship. They play a major role and have been a pillar of support in strengthening the relationship. It is expected that the Prime Minister will highlight the importance of people-to-people ties between the two nations and the potential of enhancing these ties further, especially through higher education linkages and mobility.
Indian diaspora champion Dr. Bharat Barai says the Indian-American community is excited about the first bilateral visit and discussion since President Joe Biden assumed office in January 2021.
So Senator Biden and now Senator President have always felt special bonding between the India. He has been in the Senate for all these years and knows the strategic value of relationship between the two countries. So I wanted to take it back all the way to 2008 when he openly became the first senator from the Democratic side to co-sponsor the nuclear treaty. US needs India as the bulwark in the Asian continent. Japan and Australia are important co-partners, but they are not as big as India. With its population of 1.35 billion and a large army of almost 1.5 million, India can really stand up to China. I feel, and most people recognize, that this fusion of Islamic radicalism, and Pakistan is another Taliban country, it has a sort of face of Imran Khan to show as a democratically elected prime minister, but in reality, all recent prime ministers of Pakistan have been controlled by ISI and by the army. And now the fusion of communist dictators in China and Pakistani Islamic radicals, well, let's see what they do in Afghanistan, because Taliban in Afghanistan is really extension of ISI Taliban in Afghanistan. So this is a very dangerous fusion, unfortunately, on India's borders.
French President Emmanuel Macron and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, tweet Bon Homie, agree to a joint agenda on Indo-Pacific and the region. India and France have agreed to act jointly in the Indo-Pacific. In a phone call between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron, the two leaders also agreed to promote regional stability and the rule of law while ruling out any form of hegemony, a French statement said. The statement was an indirect reference to China. The two leaders also discussed the recent developments in Afghanistan and shared their concerns about the possible spread of terrorism, narcotics, illicit weapons and human trafficking, an Indian statement said. The phone call came just before Modi's US visit for the UN General Assembly and a meeting of the Quad leaders where Chinese aggression and Afghanistan are on the agenda. It also comes amidst French anger over the US-UK-Australia deal to help the latter build nuclear-powered submarines. The deal meant Australia scrapped a $66 billion contract with France to build 12 conventional submarines. India already has a relationship with the French naval group, which is helping it build 6 Scorpene-class conventional submarines. In an interesting display of bonhomie, Macron tweeted in Hindi to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, quote, Namaste, Priya Sathi, Priya Mitra. Thank you for reaffirming the importance of our strategic partnership. India and France are strongly committed to making the Indo-Pacific an area of cooperation and shared values. We will continue to build on this, end quote. Modi had earlier tweeted saying he had spoken to my friend Macron. This was an interesting exchange days before the Quad summit, which comes after the Australia-UK-US deal has been signed that has upset France. E-commerce rivalry begins as Amazon, Flipkart announce festival season sales. India's e-commerce giants have unleashed a sales rivalry to capture potentially tens of millions of dollars of transaction during the upcoming festival season. Flipkart announced the Big Billion Days sale. Right after the announcement, Amazon came up with the Great Indian Festival sale. US says India cooperated and supported in the US troop withdrawal and evacuations from Afghanistan. The US Defense Department has said that India cooperated with the US in the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan and also in the evacuation of its citizens and other after the Taliban took over the country on August 15th. India has also offered to help those at risk there. This information was provided in a readout by US Defense Department spokesperson John Kirby after a phone conversation between US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Indian Defense Minister Rajnath Singh. Their conversation came ahead of the Quad summit convened by US President Joe Biden with Prime Ministers Narendra Modi of India, Yoshihide Suga of Japan and Scott Morrison of Australia. India has apparently had an understated role in the chaotic US departure from Afghanistan, unlike some other countries like Qatar, which cooperated overtly. India will resume the export of COVID vaccines from October 2021.
Indian Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia made the landmark announcement on 20th September that it will resume the export of COVID-19 vaccines from October 2021. The minister said that surplus doses of COVID-19 vaccine from homegrown production will be used to fulfill the commitment India made to the World Health Organization's COVAX program. Mandavia indicated that the decision has been taken after a visible supply of nearly 1,000 million doses India is expected to have in the next quarter. India was supplying vaccines to its immediate neighbors and the global COVAX scheme for poorer countries under its ambitious Vaccine Maitri program until it halted exports in the middle of April after the infections exploded in India amid the deadliest second wave of COVID-19. The program was coordinated by the Ministry of External Affairs, which came to a halt after exporting a little over 63 million doses to 95 nations as the country shifted its complete focus on domestic immunization.
An award-winning Bollywood jodi, actor Tabu and actor-turned-director Mahesh Manjrekar are planning to reunite in the film White. Bollywood actors Tabu and Mahesh Manjrekar had teamed up for the first time in the Hindi-Marathi bilingual titled Astitva that won a national award for Best Feature Film in Marathi. 21 years later, one learns that Tabu is discussing a probable reunion with Mahesh on his next directorial, White. The film is being produced by Sandeep Singh and Raj Shanalia. Buzz is that the film will be a powerful drama centered around a widow. A lot of thought has gone into naming the film White, which blends well with the premise of the film. Mahesh and Tabu have been discussing several aspects of the script over the last few weeks. Tabu is currently shooting for the Anees Bazmi directed horror comedy Bhool Bhulaiya 2 featuring Kartik Aaryan and Kiara Advani. That's all for this bulletin of Daily India Report. Thank you for watching.
And thank you very much, Ankita. Good to see you back. And of course, it was the news that everyone's been following. Prime Minister's visit to US, and of course, together with Narendra Modi ji, our Prime Minister Scott Morrison is there as well. That Quad meeting, and we'll see what and how it transpires. Well, right now it's time to look at some of the functions and events taking place right here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your company. It's been wonderful having your company as usual. And once again, looking forward to catching up with all of you right after this show at 10 a.m. When Tanvi Goyal joins me here in the studio. So we will be talking about everything to do with travel and all the travel updates. Yes, you can travel even in this point in time. Every morning I can see so many, sitting on the deck, I can watch so many planes coming in. So yes, so what are those options? How can you travel? This is all coming up at 10 a.m. Well, until then, it's goodbye from me, and it's been wonderful having your company. And as I mentioned before, should you wish to have your ads featured in the segment, there are opportunities. We can only have a limited number of ads in there. So, if you want to secure your spot, please do contact Rajni. Or if you want to have the naming rights and have an hosted program, that option too is available. So right now it's goodbye until the next segment, which is the weekly travel update with Tanvi Goyal, coming up at 10 a.m. Brisbane time. Until then, it's goodbye from me. See you then.